friends, I'm Akash, and this is your News of the Week for the week of July 10th to July 16th, 2022. I'm Akash Cody, and we have some very important stories for you this week. Up first, we have an update on the Sri Lanka crisis. Sri Lanka is in serious financial troubles. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who was the president of the country until Thursday, has fled the country and resigned as president due to mass protests over the country's economic collapse. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe was sworn in as Sri Lanka's interim president on Friday, July 15th, until Parliament elects the new president at the remainder of the term that ends in 2024. It appeared to be all good for Sri Lanka until 2019. The terrorist attacks on churches and hotels on Easter Sunday in 2019 gave a big blow to tourism, which used to be the significant revenue generator for Sri Lanka's economy. This is one of the most important sectors, other than agriculture, for the Sri Lankan economy. And after this terrorist attack that blew that out, it was followed by the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, which made the situation to decline even further. Also, nepotism and corruption were two major issues that added gravity to the situation. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had appointed his family members at the top posts of Prime Minister, Finance Minister, etc. The Prime Minister was Gotabaya Rajapaksa's brother, Mahinda Rajapaksa. So this all ended up leading to increased corruption. And also, they made some rather bad decisions. The Sri Lanka government took some bad decisions like printing more and more money, which led to more inflation. Yeah, they also mandated organic farming nationwide, banning fertilizers, which backfired as crops were now far more costly because there were just less of them now. And also, there's many others like this. And the Russia-Ukraine war just continued to further worsen the inflation. All of these resulted in the worst economic crisis Sri Lanka has seen, that is seen to unprecedented levels of inflation, total depletion of foreign exchange reserves, serious shortages of medical supplies and fuel, and a sharp increase in prices of basic commodities. So, eventually, in March of 2022, people started coming out onto the streets, protesting against the government, blaming that the Rajapaksa family was responsible for the current situation, and demanding the Rajapaksa family members to resign from all of their top posts as president, prime minister, and more. Now, the Sri Lankan people were so upset with the current situation as they went so far as to occupy the president's residence and burn down the prime minister's house. Foreseeing this opposition from the people of Sri Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his family just straight up fled Sri Lanka to Singapore through the Maldives. And now, all we have to see is whether the interim president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, can help rescue the Sri Lanka from falling out. God help Sri Lanka. We are all with you, and we really hope that Sri Lanka can come out of this stronger than ever. Next up, President Biden's first trip to the Middle East as President of the United States looks like a success. President Biden arrived in Israel on July 13th and was warmly received by both the President and the Prime Minister of Israel, Isaac Herzog and Yair Lapid, respectively. President Biden was honored with the Israeli President's Medal of Honor in Jerusalem on July 14th, 2022. President Isaac Herzog bestowed this award upon President Biden for his friendship with Israel, his long-term commitment to the country's security, and his contributions to furthering American-Israeli relations and helping to end anti-Semitic hatred worldwide. This came during the I2U2 summit between India, Israel, the USA, and the United Arab Emirates, an alliance that is working towards the benefit of these countries together and the furthering of relations between these countries. Speaking of which, previously, the UAE and Israel did not share that many relations with each other, and in some cases, they were even hostile to each other, seeing as Israel is a primarily Jewish state that does not recognize Palestine, while the UAE is a Muslim state that does recognize Palestine. But for the past few years, relations have warmed up considerably, and in the Abraham Accords of 2020, Israel and the UAE announced that they would be normalizing their relations. Without this, the I2-U2 alliance would never have been possible, and this serves as one further step towards the normalization of Israeli relations with the rest of the Arab world, and that marks a big step forward for Israel. The I2-U2 alliance announced plans to contribute to India's hybrid renewable energy project in the state of Gujarat, and to build food parks in India that will help improve food security in the wake of tariffs on Russian exports during the invasion of Ukraine. The US and Israel also announced that they will be working together to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, noting that as Israel and Iran are rather hostile towards each other, Iran achieving nuclear status is seen as a major threat to the Israeli nation. President Biden arrived on July 15th in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, who is received by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia himself, Mohammed bin Salman. And President Biden will be visiting Palestine and meeting with the President of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, as part of his trip to the Middle East. And that is really, really cool. And now for our final story, which is one that I personally am really, really interested in. The James Webb Space Telescope, the successor to the Hubble Space Telescope, launched on December 25th, 2021. And it took its first picture of outer space quite recently, and it was released on July 11th, 2022. So take a look at this stunning infrared false color photo. It may not look like much, but this is a photo of a galaxy cluster 4.6 billion light years away from Earth. 1 light year is the distance traveled by light in 1 year. So what you're really seeing is 4.6 billion light years. Try to imagine how much distance is 4.6 billion light years. And because the light has traveled that many years to go by, that means what you're really seeing, and try to get your minds over this, you are technically seeing an image of this area of space 4.6 billion years ago, because that's how long it took for that light to reach the camera. And despite this view being the same as holding a grain of sand out at arm's length, according to NASA, this view provides so much of space, showing that the universe is very, very large. And there are many, many, many things that we just don't know yet about it. And this James Webb Space Telescope is named after the second administrator of NASA, James E. Webb, who helped coordinate the Mercury and Gemini missions that prepared the Apollo missions for the man to go on the moon, which is absolutely amazing. I truly cannot wait to learn more interesting and fascinating facts about our universe through the James Webb Space Telescope. For me personally, this is something that's so exciting, and I really hope it is for you too. And that is all of our news of the week for the week of July 10th to July 16th, 2022. Thanks so much for watching. Love you, Akash.